and welcome back to another exciting podcast episode of American Pylon. Your host here, Will Mehall, joined by my counterparts, James Thomas Fanning IV, Tyler Combs, and our producer, David Grayson, behind all of the tech, making this possible. Now, we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to recap the UGA versus Alabama game in the SEC Championship, and we're going to take a look at some of the games that are coming up, both the matchup for the Dogs against the Longhorns and some of the other bowl games. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about In We Go. And we've talked about them on this show before, but for those of you that may not have heard, In We Go provides unlimited access to events in and around the city. For just $30 a month, you get access to sporting events, brewery tours, bar crawls, anything you could possibly imagine. And now for a limited time, you can plug in the promo code Pylon for $10 off your first month. So be sure to check them out at In We Go.
Hell yeah. Will's feeling himself.
I am feeling myself. It has been a long week. I know it's difficult to get back into the swing of things, particularly after a long holiday like Thanksgiving. But here we are. And I think, it's our 22nd episode here on American Pylon. So we're glad to have all of you joining us once again. And today we're going to talk about the UGA versus Alabama matchup in the SEC Championship. Now, I know that many people have said that this was one of the matchups that, if any, they thought that we could win because of X, Y, and Z. And it turns out a lot of those things actually transpired. I mean, we saw Tua go out during the middle of the game. We thought that was possibly one of the better things that could have happened for us, but ultimately it was not to be. So I want to start off and talk about the atmosphere going into the game, because I know, Tyler, I think you were at the game. Jim, were you at the game as well?
I was with Tyler. We got standing room only tickets, and then we got to sneak down in the second half to some pretty good seats thanks to Tyler's family friends.
Yeah, had to hook up. That was nice.
Yeah,
so
we had good seats.
Talk us through a little bit about this game. Obviously, the emotions are running high, given where last season left off and the relationship that we have had with Bama recently in these matchups. I've got to be honest, looking at Bama's roster and how they have performed this year, and some of the just absolutely absurd numbers and statistics and trivia facts that they have put up, I wasn't sure that anyone could necessarily beat Alabama.
Yeah.
At any point in time.
Limit their offense was the biggest thing.
Exactly, and we addressed that on the last podcast. So I want to get into the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball and break it down like we normally do. But for those of us that weren't there, I wasn't able to actually go to the game. I want to hear from you guys what the atmosphere was like at Mercedes-Benz Stadium and going into this matchup.
It was high energy. I'd say 60% Georgia fans.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we really saw how many Georgia fans there actually were, because similar colors and an enclosed stadium, kind of in a darker environment, so you can't tell exactly who all was who. But in the fourth quarter, when we did the Krypton fanfare, light up whatever stadium we're in, you could really tell how many Georgia fans were there. The entire Georgia sideline everyone had their lights or their flashlights on their phones, and then peppered throughout the Alabama section, you could see a ton of Georgia fans too. So that was a good measure of probably 60-40 is what it felt like.
And
atmosphere was good.
Maybe we're a little biased, but I felt like Georgia fans did a better job of being engaged in the game the entire time.
Yeah,
Alabama was pretty quiet halftime and most of the third quarter, and then when they started to come back, they did get really loud, to their credit.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of, I think, they were very intimidating sounding when they did well, because they were very loud. I agree with Jimmy. I felt like we were in it more. I think it's a little bit more of desperation and wanting it, and maybe not being there as often. So it's new to us. They're a little spoiled by that. So that's just the nature of the beast, and good for them. As far as the whole overall game day environment, I will say every time we play Alabama, at least since my recent memory of 2015, it has been nothing but cold and raining. 2015 was National Championship
and this game.
So it's just,
I never thought about that, because two of them have been indoors. But
they bring the storm with them. It's kind of this gloomy day when Bama rolls into town every time they come to Georgia.
Bama.
So, but again, the game was inside, so it wasn't like it was a big deal. The weather-wise, it didn't affect us. But, yeah, atmosphere was great. I guess we didn't tailgate too much. We kind of got down there pretty quick, close to game time, which was fine. We Jimmy and I. Actually, we got into the game, funnily enough, because we were sitting there at dinner with a bunch of friends, just hanging out late Friday night, talking about the game, the weekend, whatever. Who was going, who wasn't. SEC, their official Twitter page, tweets out, says, hey, at 10 a.m., we will be releasing a limited number of standing room only tickets at Mercedes-Benz, the ticket office. So I get up, like a diehard fan I am, at 6, get down there at 7, prepared to wait for 3 hours, expecting to see like just these crazy Alabama fans rolling into town on their trailers, trying to wait to get into the game. Nobody was there. So got back in the car, went and got some breakfast, came back at 8:30. One person was there, so it's like, okay, I have someone to talk to. Went down there, talked to them forever. Anyway, by the time 9:45 rolled around, it was about 60, 70 folks waiting in line.
You got there at 6 a.m.?
Yeah, but I went back. I got up at 6, got there at 7. But that's besides the point. Anyway, first in line, they opened up. They opened up 2 windows. I was right in front of one. Boom, window rolled up. I was able to grab 4 tickets for less than face value, thankfully. And like Jimmy said, we got into the game, and then I have some good family friends that are very gracious to me throughout the season. I sit with them season tickets and tailgate, and they had 6 available seats beside them in the 100 level, 20 rows up, and they invited us down. So for less than face value, me, Jim, the girlfriend, and our good buddy, listener Cole, all got to experience the game, and it was, again, just like last year, and it sounds kind of maybe a little brotherish, but it was such a fun atmosphere, such a fun event. Even though the outcome was sickening and almost stings a little worse just because of how close we got again. It was like a repeat. It's a little bit of deja vu. It's just, it was still a fun atmosphere, still a very fun event. It just, unfortunately, same song and dance from last year in the same exact building.
Yeah. That's tough. I know that, watching this game at home, being a Georgia sports fan, I've had my heart broken one too many times. You talk about, and of course this extends beyond University of Georgia football. You take a look at the Falcons and what they did in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and it hits just too close to home to where you build up this hope where they come out with a big lead. They had a 2-touchdown lead against the number 1 team that when I was watching Alabama during the regular season and listening to all of the criticism of Georgia's team and all of the praise of Alabama, that I think, okay, well, there's just no way that this can happen. When they go out to a 14-point lead, you think, holy cow, this is a possibility.
Yeah.
And then things just kind of come crashing down in the second half. But, Jim, I want to hear a little bit from you on starting off on a positive note, how you felt the offense performed for Georgia. Obviously, they did a tremendous job in the beginning of the game, and Jake Fromm was playing out of his mind.
Jake Fromm played awesome. I think that was kind of it's been the narrative from at least a very vocal minority of the fan base. I don't know how many people felt like that you can't beat Bama with a pocket passer with a pro style quarterback, and that Jake Fromm, couldn't get it done against them, and he kind of shrinks on a big stage. And he goes out there and completes, 60-something% of his passes for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. There's no world where you can pin that loss on Jake Fromm.
No doubt.
He definitely tapered off in the second half, but I think that's more. We were still throwing the ball. I was okay with the play calling. I didn't feel like we went into conservative mode. I just felt like Bama tightened up, probably made some adjustments at halftime that. They did to us what we did to Oklahoma last year.
They sacrificed another one of those freshmen.
Yeah. That's right. They took a 5-star freshman and sacrificed him at midnight or at halftime.
Yeah.
I was really pleased with the way we were playing coming out. We came out throwing the ball, which is what I'd said in the last podcast. I felt like we needed to do was throw to open up the run. There wasn't any part of our game plan that I felt like was lacking or that we could. We can talk about the fake punt that went so poorly later on, but as far as stuff that we were not forced into, but just what we came out, what Chaney was calling, who we had on the field, stuff like that. I was pretty pleased with it. It makes me really excited for next year because when you think about who was making big plays for us, most of those people are going to be back.
Yeah.
Ideally, we don't know, who's going prone, who's not as of the
That's the most exciting part of the year, though.
Filming
Really,
this
if
podcast.
it's figuring all this out. No matter when your season, well, it doesn't matter when your season ends. Unfortunately, ours is earlier than we want, but it is a fun part of the year, trying to figure out the coaching carousel and who stays, who goes, and speculating all that, what your team can be the next year. Sticking to that side of the ball, the offensive side of the ball, versus Alabama. I agree with Jimmy. I mean, it was well-rounded. I mean, you saw us passing the ball very well. Jake Fromm getting out of his element, throwing for 39 attempts. Again, he was the first quarterback to throw for over 300 yards against Alabama since Deshaun Watson.
Really?
So in over
the
2
national
years,
championship
yep.
2 years ago.
So I mean, heroic performance.
That's a good
You cannot pin anything on him. I mean, that doesn't even go into include the check downs and the play calls. That probably some of the stuff he audibled us in that we don't really know that goes unappreciated. I mean, there's just no telling. I mean, that was probably Jake Fromm's, I want to say, best game of his career, just because of how efficient he was reading it well. Even the incomplete pass to Miko in the back of the end zone in the first quarter. I don't know if you recall that. We went just past his hand, but he was seeing everything. I mean, Miko, I believe it was Miko. He bobbled it around and didn't get the catch, but I mean, he was seeing. You could tell it was just coming to him very easily. So I mean, Fromm was in his element. The lights came on, and the kid just turned it on. And then even in the run game, I was really impressed with. Yes, we had to throw to open up the pass, and we had 300 plus passing yards, only just over 100 rushing, 153 rushing yards. We were able to get success outside, which we've seen that a lot, bouncing it outside and getting some big runs and some chunk plays. But then we were committed to going up the tackle, too. I love that. I mean, there were some times, especially late in the game, third quarter, late second, even fourth, we were getting a 5-6 yard gains right up the middle, right at the gut. Because, I mean, that's kind of what I said as well, I guess, is they have not played the level of talent of the offensive line that we have or the backs we have yet. Mm-hmm. And that was definitely going to wear on them. It's like any other team. We just made them look a little more human because we're built like that. We are able to do that. So we were able to see us have success down the road because we were committed to sticking it up the nose and between the tackles, which is frustrating. It's not always fun to see it, 3 yards in a cloud of dust when you run between the tackles. But I was just really impressed overall with our play calling because we stuck with everything. We saw some speed sweeps, some pass, some deep field. We saw it all.
Learned a little. No, I mean, not that it was the same situation as LSU because we were never down until the very end of the game, but I think we learned from LSU that, running the ball is going to kind of be our bread and butter, so we're not going to go away. Even though Fromm was having a great game, even though we were throwing the ball a lot, which I like to see, we never, totally abandoned the run.
Yeah, I mean, 39 attempts rushing.
But I tell you, most of those attempts, from what I was seeing and watching it on TV, it looks like, he was having quick dropbacks and just getting rid of the ball quick. I mean, I don't think he sat back in the pocket for 4 or 5 seconds and was looking through 3, 4, 5 different reads. I feel like he was getting the ball out of his hand quick. What would you guys make of that in going into this matchup against Texas? Do you think that was specifically designed for
I would imagine
Alabama, or do you think that that's like, hey, we've come to the realization that this is where Jake Fromm needs to sit? I mean, he can have more than the 20, 25 attempts that we've limited to as long as he's getting the ball out quick.
Yeah, I think it was more than that. I think he read through some progressions for sure. There were times he had checked out. As one play in particular, we were late. He read through all his progressions, looked down to DeAndre Swift, had a little teardrop pass as a wheel route, and put it. It was so he was, and then a lot of out routes, not out.
That was on a third down.
Yeah, too. Just clutch stuff where it was like progression, and he even took the ball down and ran some. We even saw some QB. We saw a QB keep in the zone read, so he was definitely being asked to do a little more. Maybe it was that, or maybe he was seeing it and getting more confident. I'm not sure. Maybe that's more of the Bama film study, but I do think he was definitely. It wasn't just one read. You saw a lot of out route, corner routes. I guess he was going to. They were deep and not easy throws. So I don't think it was quick. And those things have to develop, and you have to have the time to get there. So also credit to our offensive line
our offensive line played really
giving him. And the kid got touched twice. He got touched the first.
Unbelievable.
I think he got sacked the first drive.
Yeah,
and then once we got the interception,
down.
and then he got sacked the last drive, I believe, or the next to last drive when they thought it might have been an interception. That was the only 2 times he got touched the whole game. So
it was incredible.
You cannot. It's just. Obviously we can get into this, and it's exhausting and overwhelming to even delve into all the frustrations of this game that we can talk about.
But this offensive line was a major positive that I took away from the game. You're talking
if
about,
we can replace Lamont Gilliard with
unbelievable.
some amount of consistency next year, our offensive line next year is just going to be so good. When you looked at our there's 5 guys starting, and then the center is kind of his own guy. But outside that, you can mix and match. So as far as 4 positions between 2 guards and 2 tackles, we're legitimately 8 deep in SEC starters.
I mean, you have to look. You have a true freshman at guard. You had a redshirt freshman at right tackle, and you have a true sophomore at left tackle. I mean, that was what we were putting there versus Bama. Then you have even sticking with the line of scrimmage, just a little bit on the defensive side. Jordan Davis, true freshman, nose tackle, wrecking things. I mean. This is like kind of what I said as well. I mean, some of those those aren't unsung heroes. Those are definitely guys that are big contributors that have come on to be contributors in our season. But this is when those games where athleticism almost takes over near the end of the year because you got a little bit more understanding. You don't have it all. But versus a team like this, it's almost like you got to have the Joes up there. You got to be able to at least punch back against Alabama. We got
a lot of young guys out there, and I feel like, I don't know. I'm not super well versed in Alabama, but I know that a lot of guys are out there making a lot of big plays for them are draft eligible and could go pro. So I think next year we're going to get better and they're going to get worse. And we played them right down to the wire and went punch for punch with them. So I'm really excited about next year. I mean, I feel like not to take away from this year, but it felt a little bit like we were sort of playing with house money. I think we all expected.
I don't think anybody expected 2018 to be the year. I think everybody looked at 2019 as saying like the talent being developed, and this is where things were.
And I said on one of the first podcasts that I said that immediately following 2017, I was like 2018 is going to be a rebuilding year, then 2019 is the year, and then it was just really fun to see. I kind of bought in to the fact that we could have gone all the way this year. I think if we had beat Alabama and Oklahoma had gotten in over Bama, if it was us, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma, I think we'd win the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think we'd be national champions. We're the second best team in the country.
I agree. No, I totally agree with that. I mean, I want to stick with the game because there's a lot to talk about there. Yeah. But in whole, I do hate that conversation of we are playing with house money or ahead of schedule simply because, and I agree. And I know it sounds like just typical UGA, next year is our year. I'm not going to even say that. Next year is certainly promising and exciting, all emotions aside, just because of
I think we're going undefeated wire to wire.
Talent you have coming back, the way we've been recruiting, and it's a sheer numbers as far as what is considered leadership or veteran on your team. That is certainly lining up. You're in Kirby's 4th year. You're in Jake Fromm's junior year. We can go down the line about what's all exciting about that. However, I guess hate the conversation of last year we were ahead of schedule. This year, wow, what a surprise. We're there because we're supposed to be there because we did make it there. That's my thing. I mean, I get it. People are like, wow, he did it in year 2, did it in year 3. Yeah, but who else? That's exactly what. So is everyone else in the same playing field. I don't care. There's a ton of new coaches every year. There's a ton of veteran coaches every year. They have every other excuse to say this player, that player, injury here, injury there, this other thing he developed, he didn't. This 5-star panned out, this one transferred. We were there because we earned it, we deserved it. And I mean, maybe it is shocking. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a surprise. And maybe I should take the word surprise out of it. But we're there. We're there for a reason. There's nothing to take that away from us to say. We're playing with house money. We're ahead of schedule. We're not. We are right on schedule. This is exactly what Kirby would say.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody's taking away from the fact that they didn't deserve to be there based on their wins, based on their schedule, based on the way that they've played. I think that most people had lower expectations for the way a lot of the units played. I mean, take a look at the offensive line. I mean, we've been critical for a large margin of the year on the way that they had played, and look where they stepped up in a time where it was absolutely needed. So I think that this is, speaking to Jimmy's point, we buy in every year as to where we have opportunity for success, and I think that that's a key point because the players are doing the exact same thing under the regime of Kirby Smart. So I think that we can look to next year to be that stand-apart year.
To me, I'm excited about next year because last year was such a strong senior class, and you had guys like Roquan was a junior, but the leadership on the team of like Sony and Nick, and then you had Lorenzo Carter and you had Roquan of just like willing that team to victory, like in games like the Rose Bowl. And then this year, I felt like you saw Kirby's coaching prowess come. The way we were easing freshmen in, and the way
I think Swift and Holyfield.
Yeah, Swift and Holyfield played really well, but we knew they were good. But I'm talking about the freshmen, especially on defense, that are playing major minutes in the SEC championship. They couldn't even get on the field earlier in the year. Like that speaks to like Kirby knows what he's doing. He's bringing everybody along as fast as he can, but he's not going to throw anybody in there before they're ready. And so next year is where that experience is going to meet that coaching.
Yeah.
We're gonna have this elite level of talent also at the age where they're ready to fully contribute.
Yeah.
And that's what's really exciting to me.
Totally agree with that's a good way to put it too, I think, is saying, you have the void of leadership was there a little bit as far as our veteran leadership, we should say. I think we came in with a very high level of expectation that we can almost maintain, right? That's where fandom and emotion takes over, and that's not realistic. And then we kind of got brought back down to earth by seeing some of the growing pains we had to have with that young talent. But I still think that just goes to show you, even though there were some growing pains there, we knew what we could be. So it wasn't really a surprise. It wasn't really a shock to anyone that we can perform like that. It just, as the year went on, you saw we got better, as you should get better and better and better. But that's what we expect, right? So that's what a coach like Kirby is going to push a team to get better each week. Unfortunately, it's been kind of our signature to take a big L on the road to a West team.
Yeah.
To kind of kick us into gear to get there. But you see us. You're seeing that. That's Jimmy's point. Is maybe it was more of that leadership and talent his first year or second year rather, in 2017, and then this year was more of Kirby's coaching prowess mixed with some of that young talent that isn't quite ready to absorb it all yet. But we went through those growing pains. So I guess I don't like saying we're ahead of schedule. I think we are absolutely. I mean, you see, look at there. This is the greatest team ever that's ever existed that we just played against. We went toe to toe with them for freaking 3 and 7/8 quarters. So I guess I hate that because it almost discounts we weren't supposed to be here, so it's okay if we lost. I know we're not saying it's okay.
But I mean, if you're looking at Alabama and Georgia at the very beginning of the season,
no doubt that's everybody. But I think you're seeing that this is what we're building, and we are not far away. It's not like we have to get on a schedule. It's like we have it now. We've almost always had it now. I mean, Kirby's had 2 full recruiting classes to himself, really, since he's been on the scene. That was last year and this year, and those are the guys. I mean, we're in it. We're there.
To me, it's just exciting that we're basically still trending up, and Alabama, I feel like they're at their ceiling because, like you said, the team of destiny, the greatest team of all time.
How much better could you get?
How much better can they get? Not that much
yeah.
better. Whereas we have so much room to grow. With you look at how young certain guys are and the age of guys that were contributing and stuff, and we went toe to toe with them.
I mean, this is a beacon for talent.
I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just really excited about it. I think next year is the perfect storm of age and talent and coaching.
No, totally. I mean, I'm
think
super
it's gonna
excited.
Be really, really a fun year.
Yeah, I do want to say and kind of end that maybe with I'm not saying we're going to surpass Alabama. I don't think anyone honestly will ever surpass this.
I don't think anyone will ever do it.
Kirby's not going to be Saban. He can be close. He can be good, but we're not going to. I mean, you just got to applaud him. And I hate him, but you just got to. I mean, it's unreal.
What I've been saying this week, though, is I could see a situation where Kirby, because of Alabama beating us in the national championship and beating us in the SEC championship, that he just, and because he used to work there, kind of has a vendetta against Alabama for the rest of his career.
Love that.
So think about 12 years down the road, Kirby is still firmly in his prime. Saban's been retired for 6 years. Alabama hired somebody who was good, but not as good as Saban. They've kind of trended backwards. They're a 10-2 type team. They're not the Alabama that we know right now. And they come to Athens when Georgia is ranked, as high as if Kirby continues to recruit at this level. I could see a situation where in 2028 we beat Alabama 63-7.
Okay.
And Kirby just puts an exclamation point and is like, "That's for 2017. That's for 2018."
That'd be nice.
I hate you guys.
That'd be nice.
Saban's been gone for 5 years, but I could still. I think that's gonna happen.
It would be fun. That's just
we'll be on episode 245.
Way past
of
that.
American Pylon.
No.
Yeah, no, that'd be fun. That's a good hypothetical there. Yeah. I like that.
No, I mean, it's really exciting stuff. Obviously, there were a lot of things to be encouraged by, and I would say it was many of the things that we just talked about, but at the same time, there were some miscues and some things that I just, looking back on, rack my brain as to how you could possibly make that call. And the first one that comes to mind
talking about the punt
is the fake punt at 4th and 11.
There's the elephant in the room, yeah.
When you bring in Justin Fields, who I don't know. I mean, again, I haven't gone back and watched all of our punt formations for the year, but I cannot imagine that Justin Fields has been involved in any other of them.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest,
how?
I didn't actually notice that he was in because I was looking at the punter and the return man. So Tyler did point it out. Tyler goes, Justin Fields it up back, and at that point I was like, well, if Tyler just noticed that, probably one of Alabama's 45 analysts in the booth noticed that.
On TV,
I'm here for hire.
It was blaringly obvious. Yeah. So, And this is coming
And
from somebody
Kirby
Go
said
ahead.
that we did get the look that we wanted as soon as we got on the field, but we took too long to snap the ball. Swift
At 4th
was
and 11?
open, and they covered. Swift was open, and they covered him up.
They were playing. They were playing a deep defense on the punt, though.
They didn't have a punt returner back there.
Yeah, it was.
So to
definitely
me,
just, like,
that
straight
immediately signifies that okay, we should probably call a timeout and scrap this play.
No, okay, so here's where I'm okay with not calling a timeout and just letting it roll because to me it's not worth burning one of your timeouts. When their offense is moving that well and you have to consider the possibility that they're going to score, you want to keep your timeouts in your pocket to use them when you get the ball
Then they
back, which we did.
I agree with that.
So what we should have done...
They should have shifted and punted away to pin them deep if they didn't have a return.
Right, so if you're going to blame anything, you blame Kirby for not saying beforehand to Justin Fields, what we should have done is taken a delay a game. If we had seen that wasn't going to work and we don't want Justin Fields running downfields covering a punt. Like, we obviously had never had any intention of punting that.
He's meant to be
on
a
the field at
battering
all.
ram in other ways.
Well, right, but
Amen.
so what we should have done is we should have told Justin Fields, if they don't give you the look you want, just sit there, don't call for the ball, take a delay of game, and we'll punt 5 yards deeper. So I'm okay with not using a timeout. I wish we had taken a delay of game, but at the end of the day, honestly, you could argue that gave us, even though we didn't win, gave us a better chance to win because at that point, Jalen Hurts was just shredding us. We couldn't stop him. All we did was give him a shorter field. He scored faster, and then we had more time for us to potentially score. So you could also argue that, we should have made him, like, obviously you make them go 80 yards instead of 50 yards. But who's to say he wouldn't have gone 80 yards and just taken 35 more seconds off the clock?
Yeah, I mean, I think to that point, my argument or my thoughts.
I'm okay with not burning a timeout. That's my biggest
I
thing.
agree with
We
that.
should have
I
taken
totally
a delay
agree with
game.
that.
But okay. All I'm
We
saying
all agree
is
with.
I agree with not burning a timeout. Absolutely, taking a delay of game or just not even trying to begin.
Delay
with
of game is like a poor man's timeout.
Yeah.
and when you're
Totally
punting,
agree with
like,
that.
what's
Well, they
5
may have
yards?
declined the yards even because we haven't been. It's like we were. I mean, how about this? Camarda was actually punting well. We were not fielding the ball well downfield.
Oh
God.
man, how many times did we
3
down the ball? 3. There you go. Somebody like a yard inside the end zone.
that is
3
painful to
times.
watch.
It was
3
hard.
times let it squander and you go up to a touchback, which is huge, 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 obviously. But I mean, yeah, I guess to that point, Kirby, he came out and said, we had 2 years of film on that. I know it personally, very intimately. Speaking on Kirby's behalf here, he said, I knew that very intimately to where if they do a safe coverage where they're not going to have a return man that gets let you kick it down there, they do not cover this player, which ended up being DeAndre Swift in that formation. And we didn't get the snap off. They recognize it. They see big old number 1 standing back there, which is a hard number to, not to miss. And it didn't work. And then again, that's kind of just more of that freshman, maybe it wasn't enough instruction. Maybe that was just being a freshman and just seeing what will happen.
Maybe he just wanted
and
his
didn't
moment.
know. I doubt it's that,
Not
but
in a
it's
selfish
frustrating.
way, but he trusts himself way. So he's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to make this happen one way or the
But
other.
I feel like if you were going to pull that out and you were going to have Justin Fields in there, you would have at least done it in one other formation where he didn't have to throw the ball.
You wouldn't show that you would not show that earlier in the year if you don't have to.
Why would you not just have a direct snap to the regular punter with Justin Fields sitting in the backfield?
Because now Rodrigo's holding.
Because now you're
16
sending
yards deep.
now you're sending your second string and only other scholarship quarterback down the field to get his head knocked off.
Why wouldn't you have done it against a no-name team where he doesn't have to run down
Same
and play
thing.
coverage?
They know that. The same thing. Those guys can go there and just clock that kid if they wanted to. For instance, if I saw that, I'd be like, if their quarterback goes in there, if they put Swift back there, if they put someone.
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't even have to move. But why would you?
Well, but then
why
you're
would you?
covering
Why
you're
would you
covering a punt with 10 people?
against UMass?
9 people. You have a punter.
Well, yeah.
Against
I don't
UMass?
think we expected to
Still.
have to be in this situation.
But the fact of the matter is that you put somebody who is.
Will, rein it in. Producer Dave has stuff to say.
Go ahead.
Oh, it's not that important.
Go ahead, Dave. It's important.
I was gonna. Did y'all see the meme where someone found a picture of Shaq hiding behind
Yes,
a
that was
really
pretty
tiny
good.
tree?
Yeah, that was funny.
Fields trying to.
Yeah, Fields hiding on punt. Wait, so but what if we had let Fields cover or not cover but be in on a punt team against UMass? What you're just like you're saying that
point
would
is
show
that-
our willingness to kick with Fields on the
Yeah.
field. Yeah.
But the point is that this is literally the first time you've ever brought him out for a punt, and you think that what? They're just going to sit there and be like, oh,
Well, I'll
there's
tell
no chance of this being a fake.
Yeah, well, I mean,
So it sounds like Kirby was willing to let them know that it was going to be a fake, but he knows that if they went into, fake prevent defense, there's one
Which
player
they were
that-
already sitting in.
Well, right, but then there's one player that doesn't get covered, and it was Swift. So we got the matchup we wanted, we got the look we wanted, and then it's just, kudos to whoever it was on Alabama that recognized it and shifted it. I mean,
and you think the 11 yards
it's a chess match, and they were
was
just
an
one
achievable goal
if
to
you
put out
if
in
you
front
get
of that?
Swift the ball in any sort of space
with any kind of one-on-one situation.
I would try,
anyway.
in a first down would have pretty much iced the game at that. Or no, well, we were tied at that point.
No.
Weren't we? Okay, so we needed to score, but because there were several third downs that they converted on, and we didn't convert on, and I was sitting there being like, if we can just get this first down, that could ice the game. Missing the field goal was big. You could feel the momentum shift in the stadium.
That's where I was going to go with that. Is there were several plays where you felt the focus kind of leave even the fans. It was like, oh my gosh, like a sigh of like just exasperate. I don't know, just disgust of like, here we go. This is what it feels like. But I will back it up. Even for me, the most frustrating piece of the game outside of that punt call was we were up 28-14 driving. I think we were on the 20, maybe 17, and we bring in Brian Harrion on a 3rd and 3, which kills me. We've done it all year.
We
bring in
Harrion on third down one. I don't know what he does that we like so much.
Don't get it either. So
Not first downs.
The call, long story short, we do not convert the third down, settle for the field goal and miss. But that third down personnel and calls I have an issue with. Personnel to start with, Brian Harrion, why? Your best receiving threat is DeAndre Swift. Your best running back is DeAndre Swift. So leave him in there. So no matter what the call is, a pass or a run, you have the better option there, right? Yeah, they have to respect something. It's going to hold someone in for the run. They're going to have to defend someone one-on-one on the outside for a pass. We don't convert, settle for the field goal. You put DeAndre Swift in there, maybe we only pick up 1 or 2 yards. Maybe it ends up being 4th and 1, and then you have a difficult decision to make right there. That's fine. But to me, I hated that personnel decision, and that play was just flat. It ended up being a pass to the flats to Riley Ridley, kind of thrown behind him right there. Not even to the flat, just kind of a quick little out route thrown behind Ridley. So it wasn't a pretty play, but I didn't like the personnel. We motioned Harry into the outside, so it was almost like a 5-wide set on a 3rd and 3. Don't like it. We were running the ball well. Let's move. Let's go up. I guess I say all this because that was our chance to go up 35-14. Okay, 21 points. The way we're moving the ball and another score. I mean, that is deadly. That's what we were talking about last week. Then we're looking at these. Okay, what's the number we're going to beat Bama by to knock them out of the playoffs? That is literally dangling, on that play right there.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot can happen in a game, so it's not just that one play. But then it snowballs from not converting, settling for a field goal, missing the field goal, the fake punt. You even had when they scored a touchdown and Mecole waited for a fair catch on the kickoff, muffed the kickoff.
Muffed it. Yeah, and that was.
And then Harrion called it. And 2 things there. First, when that happened, you heard it in the stand. Everyone was just like, "Oh my god!" Like, here we go, here we go. This is
in
it.
my house.
So then, not only did that just kind of like you felt it kind of deflate and lose momentum and lose focus. That also cost us wherever they recovered it at, like on the 10 or 13.
Well, he had like 15 or 16 yards that he ran off after that, and then they pulled it
marked
back
it
because of the fair catch.
Exactly. So it would have been on the 25 if he
Right.
caught it, just bare minimum. But because of how he muffed the punt with a fair catch in the 25, it comes back to where he muffs it at. So then it brings it back another 10. So now you're inside your 20-yard line when it could have been. So there are so many, and those are the little things that like you talk about, and there's been many stats that'll frustrate all of us about how close we've been versus Bama. But it's just those little things like that. You don't think about it, but that muff punt and costing you those 10 yards, that is huge. That 3rd and 3, that is huge. That missed field goal, I mean, obviously that's huge in the fake punt. But those little things, and those are mainly special teams that have.
Yeah, our special teams was definitely the worst.
Been a strength.
Gave it up
third
against,
of the between offense, defense, special teams. Special teams played the most poorly.
It sucked. I mean, it's just and that's what beat us. And people don't think about special teams. It's not really a sexy part of the game.
Exactly.
And I know that, but it's just you see it. You have to play a perfect game. And I've been talking a lot, but I guess I'll go ahead and quote the stats. I don't know if anyone else has heard them, but of the 2 games we've played versus Bama last year of the national championship and this year for the SEC championship, if you're still listening to this podcast, this is a great little nugget here. Of the 290 plays in those 2 games versus Bama, the last 2 games versus Bama, UGA has led or tied 119 snaps.
Minutes.
Alabama has had the lead for
Minutes.
9 snaps. No snaps. 290.
Oh,
290 plays.
119.
That gets worse.
Minutes.
290 plays. Alabama has led for 9 of them in 2 years. Of the 120 minutes played of those 2 games, Alabama has led for 1 minute.
Yep, we've been ahead or tied for 119 of 120 minutes of regulation.
Yep. If that, that goes to show you that is literally a 60 seconds difference over the course of 2 years. Okay.
You know what though, and stuff like that though, those weird outlier stats, like over time it regresses to the mean. So like if we keep doing what we're doing, we're gonna beat them.
No
eventually.
doubt. I just think to me, it's almost like there is no one thing you can coach. Right. There is no one thing, no one player. That is just such a that's
just
the
as a team when they're
football.
Down, you got to put your foot on their throat and just
even you. And I think that's what goes back to that play of make it 35-14, and when we're rolling, we're going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole different ballgame. I mean, they're having to get desperate. They're
and
having to
even
throw.
on the was it did they tie or did they go ahead on? It was like almost a 20-yard pass. It was a dart.
They tied on Hurts's touchdown pass.
On that drive, there were multiple third downs that I was standing there and I was like, man, if we can stop them here, that could be the game. If we can get the ball back. And then Hurts gets away and he throws a first down, or Hurts scrambles for a first down. I was like, we just could not contain him.
Super frustrating drive. His drive when he came in, I think there were 3 or 4 third downs. I was starting to get lightheaded on the third one because we were just yelling so much.
Yeah, me too.
And the drive was like 8 minutes, but when we were manufacturing pressure with our front 3 or 4 consistently, which is something we hadn't really seen all year, which was great to see us just come in with that kind of juice and get after them and have that kind of game plan. And unfortunately, Alabama recruits very well. They have 2 guys on that bench that can play quarterback, and Hurts' ability allowed him to escape and allowed him to extend those plays. And he kept the drive marching. That was just a defeating drive. I think just how well he was able to get out of everything we threw at him, and then go in there and score the tying touchdown. That'll break a team's will.
I think what's more sickening is how much of a storybook conversation it was.
Yeah, it sucks that it came against us media. 2 years in a row because it's such a neat story. Yeah, if you're a neutral fan observing.
I do like both kids.
Yeah.
I like both Jalen and Tua. They're good guys.
Incredible athletes. To Jimmy's point, the fact that it came against the Dogs 2 years in a row, for the fact that Jalen Hurts effectively hadn't had a part in the Alabama football conversation since the first half of last year's game, and then has to step up and take over.
He had played like 3 snaps that game. Wasn't there a play where like Tua was at quarterback and Hurts was at slot receiver, or vice versa?
They brought out Hurts for a minute and he was at quarterback because they were trying to spice it up. They're trying to do something different, which was cool to see. Saban kind of stooped to that level of like a fake something or kind of get exotic with his play calling. But they had Tua in there as a quarterback for a quick play, and then they had Tua in there as a slot receiver. So they were getting exotic with it. But I agree with you, Will. I don't think Hollywood seriously could write. They could write Tua's story. I don't think they could write Jalen Hurts' story of this. Have everything, almost win everything, only lose 2 games, still lose your job in the championship, lose it all year, and then have that guy injured, and then come back, and then you do the same thing to the same team in the same building.
It's sickening.
It's just, again, I think it's too soon for us to even really give him kudos, but that is a pretty cool story. That has to be pretty awesome. I heard some people's opinions. They were saying when they saw Jalen come on the field once Tua went out, they were like, "It's over," because this kid literally has probably been stewing on that for and there was a team who cost him that job, and that was like just his. You could not write that. It was just he was waiting for that moment. It came against the very team that snatched it from him.
It's a tough narrative to overcome, and you can't do anything but give props to the other side of the ball with the players that we've gone up against for the past couple of years. And, while things didn't turn out necessarily like the Bulldog faithful would have liked, I think that we're all on the same path towards success with the Kirby reign in Athens. And I think that we have a lot to be.
Next year is our year for real this time.
But
it's the cry of Bulldog Nation. Yeah. I think this time it's for real.
But I think we all have a lot to be proud of and a lot to hang our hat on.
No doubt.
In Athens, Georgia, and
like DeAndre Baker. Shout out D-Baker for winning Jim Thorpe Awards. Recording Thursday night.
So
he won it about an hour ago.
Just looking back on this season, there's a lot to be said about this game and some frustrations. And going to the Sugar Bowl will be fun because Texas is a fun matchup.
We're going to destroy Texas.
Hope we do. So we prove a point to the college football world and the committee. But
I'm rooting for Alabama in the first playoff game too. I want to see Oklahoma and Texas lose by a combined 60
billion.
points.
I have a hard time pulling for Bama, but
I'll pull for Clemson when they destroy Notre Dame, and then they play Bama in the final.
Yeah.
But I'm rooting for Bama in the semifinal just to make
to
a statement to the
embarrass it.
committee.
Yeah.
Be like, y'all screwed up.
yeah, I'm
You
with
guys
that.
put Oklahoma in there over Georgia. Georgia just went toe to toe with Bama, and Bama destroyed Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Crap.
Yeah.
And you're giving Saban another month to prepare for Oklahoma. That's a bad time to catch.
Yeah.
Saban.
Freudian
just
slip.
But looking back on that 2018 season, that just kind of summed all of that. I mean, what a fun year. I mean, just starting with Austin Peay and just going through all that, and on the road to both Columbia's, kind of going through some injuries in the offensive line, just everything. Tyson Campbell having him getting replaced, Justin Fields, the excitement of that, how well they handled the quarterback competition. I mean, there's obviously a ton of storylines we can't possibly all cover, but quite a fun season to see this team grow from what we just came off a very, very special senior laden season.
Yeah.
The year before, this is just as fun. Maybe not quite as special,
Crazy.
but it
It's
was quite
already not over. We have one more game, but the regular season being over.
It is
It
wild.
went by fast. Felt like last season, maybe because it extended into January, but last season just felt like it was so long.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
You're right. Well, it was extended a lot longer too. We had another month of talking about this, and it's fun when it's during the Christmas break. Everyone's excited and everyone's off, and you go to people's house and you're going to watch the game, and the Christmas stuff's still up. It's a good time. I have a question though. Of us four, what is your favorite game? Either something you attended or watched. What would you say y'all's favorite game was
Of this
2018?
season?
Yeah,
Of Georgia?
Georgia.
Or
Yeah,
of-
Georgia. Yeah, LSU A&M doesn't count because that was a fun game.
Yeah, that game was fun to watch. My favorite game was probably the Vanderbilt game, just because it was a night game. I was
Yeah.
there. It was just
Yeah.
a really good day. Tailgating, really good atmosphere. I was in the end zone where Terry Godwin had his 80-yard touchdown from Jake Fromm, so that happened right in front of me. Got to sit with my buddy Kyron that's in pharmacy school, so I got to sit in the student section, relive the glory days.
Old college try.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. So I'd say the Vanderbilt game,
Vanderbilt's fun. Yeah, that's a
just
good call.
From start to finish, just tailgating, game day atmosphere, going downtown after.
That's good.
All things considered, was probably my
The
favorite
night game was an extra
It was a night
element,
game,
too.
yeah,
That's
which
fun.
was exciting.
What about you, Will?
Yeah, it's
Watched or
tough. I mean,
attended?
unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to see any of the Georgia games live this year, so I took it all in on the best seat I could find, which was my couch.
The majority of people do, man. That's okay.
But I'll say, and this is a very bizarre opinion, I'll probably say, but as Georgia fans, we don't get to spend any kind of time in the swamp. And so there are a select few number of stadiums that I want to see before I'm no longer able to see them, and that would be the Big House in Michigan. That would be Penn State's stadium. That would be
Happy Valley, yeah.
Yep, that would be Tuscaloosa. And then I obviously wanted to see the Swamp because of how many games I had to watch Florida, particularly in their heyday.
Are you about to tell us your favorite game of 2018 was Florida versus Colorado State?
Well, the most memorable game for me would be that game because
so we're looking for a new host for American Pylon.
So the
anybody
most
wants to try their hand at it.
the most memorable game for me was going down there and seeing a game in the Swamp because again we come into contact with those fans in Jacksonville, which again is bull crap. I think those games need to be
language.
played.
Yeah, easy.
Hey,
Jimmy's
there's-
Nana listens.
Jimmy's Nana watches this show, so I'm
Nana
trying
does
to keep
watch
it
on
PG.
YouTube.
So
What up, Nana?
I will repeat again. I think it's bull crap. I think that those
I think
games.
Mark Rick's a listener too, so he's going to get offended by that.
I think those games should be home and away.
that would be fun.
But it was a good experience to see that. And again, I didn't get any chance to travel, so that really is the one that sticks out in my mind as being a new experience for me.
Okay. David, like
Producer
I said,
Dave?
Georgia game. Which favorite Georgia game that you attended or watched?
The Florida game this year because I got to watch it with 3 Florida people.
Oh,
so-
that'll make it
Just
fun.
watch them wallow.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that'll make it fun.
That Florida game was kind of a slow burn too. It was close until late in
Yeah.
the third quarter. We
Yeah.
just kind of choked the life out of them.
It
You looked
was.
up,
That's
we
the
were up
best
by
kind of win,
3
though.
scores. Yeah.
And it was, the season was
the
still
Kirby Smart special.
Just want to see the light leave your eyes.
Yeah, we want to make them quit.
it was still a little bit of an unknown, because Florida
Yeah.
started doing better, so we didn't really know how the rest of it was going to pan out. So at the time, it kind of was a bigger game than it feels when you look back.
That's a good point. I forget all the
That's a very
emotion
good
that went
point.
into
It was
that.
a top 10 matchup.
It was
at the
very
time, right?
yeah.
Florida's ranked number 9, I think.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
something
it
to that
was.
effect.
It
I remember
was
being
game.
very nervous. You make a good point. I remember being, is it all mattered then after coming off LSU, the long bye week, and that was the very next game we had a chance to kind of do something. That's a good point. A lot of emotion went in that.
The other one I'll say, and this is, I guess I'm kind of rambling now at this point, we don't give them a whole lot of thought season to season.
Tennessee.
No, not even them, but Tech. Because the narrative around...
They don't deserve a lot of thought. That Tech game was very enjoyable to watch.
It was.
And it got their
Because-
coach fired.
Exactly.
Kirby
Because
Smart
it was
puts another
literally...
coach's head on his wall like a hunting trophy.
true.
Exactly. It was, the media trying to build up this narrative of Tech has won in Athens,
Yeah.
2 occasions in a row, and how are the Dogs going to respond to this quote-unquote challenging triple option offense? And then we went in there and literally just dismembered them.
Did we destroyed them?
and
That was the
then-
fake news media, not the media with integrity like us.
Yeah. Very true.
So I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was pretty recently. I was hanging out with some friends who were also acquaintances with other Tech fans, and they were telling me how great their offense was.
Was that at Houck's bachelor
That was
party?
at Houck's bachelor
Yeah, I
party.
know those
Tech
guys.
fans are telling you how great
and,
their offense
and
was.
Dr. Brent Johnson and I were standing there
A bunch of
aghast.
guys from that high school went to Tech, and they would always come to Athens and
And I was like,
college and stuff. They're nice guys,
you
but
cannot,
they're Tech fans.
Yeah, you
so.
cannot, in all seriousness, stand there and begin to profess to me the benefits of your offense.
No kidding.
And then we went in and destroyed them.
Yeah, I love that.
So
That's pretty
Beautiful.
I will say that was quite rewarding.
That was a good
Yeah.
one.
But we're going to go ahead and move
Well,
on.
Tyler's got to still say his.
Oh,
favorite.
that's right. Go ahead.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Right out.
My favorite, I guess, Tech was fun because I got to watch it in Vail, so that was cool. And the way the game rolled out, but that was a different way because you never get to watch a game really away from home or not at it. My favorite game all season, I have to say, was Auburn. Auburn's usually my favorite
Auburn's
weekend
fun.
of the year just because of my ties, family ties, and a lot of the school obviously shares a lot of friends that try to go to Auburn or try to go to Georgia but went to Auburn. So it's just a fun night. I mean, it was a 3:30 or 4:30. It was a weird. Wasn't 3:30? Anyway, it ended up being late at night when the game was over anyway. So you kind of get a little bit of daytime, a little bit of
No, it was
nighttime.
7
It was a
o'clock.
late game.
Yeah.
Was it night? 7? Was that another night game?
I had to go to the bookstore and
It
buy an
had to
extra
be.
layer.
That's
before I
right.
went in. It was freezing.
Because what made it fun, it was freezing. I was not dressed appropriately for it. But what was fun about it is everyone just goes back to the Mecca almost for that game. It feels like every year
Yeah,
when
that's
it's
a
in
big game to
Athens.
come
So
back for.
everyone was there. We got stopped by 4 to 5 to 6 tailgates, which is hard to do, but it was fun to kind of see everyone and get around
Yeah.
and say hey everybody. And just obviously that's always a special game to me. So I would say Auburn just because another night game, the last night game, I guess, and just what kind of what that means for me personally and everyone that's there.
Speaking of Auburn, I sat with listener Cole that we've talked about.
Oh, yeah.
And, and there's a really nice couple probably in their mid-30s that sat in front of us, and they are from Norcross, and their son is in middle school and said that he used to shag punts for Camarda when he was in high
Really?
school. Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
They said they listened to the podcast, so we didn't exchange names, but if you guys are actually listening to this 3 weeks later, this is great to meet y'all.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
and my coworker John Dozier, he's a listener now.
Okay.
Got him on to
There
it.
you go.
There you go.
Good old Georgia boy from Bainbridge.
Thanks for listening, John.
There we go.
Yeah.
Glad to have you.
All right.
Awesome.
Blitz marketing.
What else we got?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot on the docket, and obviously, we have a lot going on coming up with the matchup against Texas, and we've also got some bowl games to discuss.
Yeah.
I do want to talk briefly a little bit about Georgia versus Texas. Don't want to get too much into it because we've got some time.
Yeah, we got a bunch of time to
Yeah,
cover
we do.
that. I haven't really watched very much. I
don't
watched
know
the first half
anything
of
about
Texas Oklahoma,
Not tonight, we don't.
the rematch. Texas the Red River Shootout
River
Part 2,
rivalry.
Electric Boogaloo. But I watched the first half of that, and there wasn't a lot to take away from it. It's the Big 12. They don't
Yeah.
play defense. So
I don't know what to
and
say about
They're probably the
Texas.
best defensive team in the Big 12, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like being the
I'm
smartest dumb
excited.
person in the
Yeah.
room.
I mean, we put them on the schedule for 2029 or 2028, both years, I believe.
Isn't that
a ways
crazy to think
away.
that far out?
Yeah, it
very
is. But I
far
mean,
away.
it's a fun. I mean, obviously, I think the only thing that makes it fun is after already having playing a game down there in Baton Rouge / New Orleans in LSU. I think that's kind of hard to travel back to again. It's kind of hard to repeat that, even though it's in the Superdome. Just a fun program, right? Historic program, blue blood of college football. That's just that's always fun to say.
I hope. I mean, I
good.
could see a world where we, kind of come out kind of flat because, it was all right there in
Yeah.
front of us, the same way that Auburn came out flat against UCF. Next year, I would hope that Kirby uses Auburn against UCF to say, they were the laughing stock all of off season, and then it really bled over into next season, and they really fell apart. So, I'm hoping he's talking to the older guys and saying, you're one of the winningest classes in UGA football history. Cement your legacy here. And he's talking to the younger guys and saying, we got robbed being left out of the playoffs. Make a statement going into next year. And I think hopefully, and I trust Kirby to motivate the guys, that we come out there and just destroy Texas. And I think we should be number 2 behind Bama going into the preseason next year.
Hopefully. I mean, I don't want to that bullseye, but I'll take it. Like Kirby said, it's a privilege to be there. It's a privilege to have that stress and that pressure on you.
Yeah.
I will say, I guess to kind of close all that up is, so we don't go too far over, is I am excited to see how, I know bowl games aren't exciting. It's playoffs or bust now because playoffs kind of diminish the bowl. But how valuable truly are these practices now for these younger players?
It's like essentially a second spring practice. You have 15 bowl practices, which is as many spring practices as you get. So it's like missing out at a bowl, like Tennessee. That's a big deal.
But no, seriously,
for your younger
just
guys.
Think about the trajectory for the younger guys and what this really brings. The bowl games, yes, they're watered down. I want us to win, but it just doesn't excite me like it used to because it just doesn't mean as much, and that's the nature of it, and I'm fine with that. That's where our program's at. But it is extremely exciting for the younger talent and to able to develop that, because that only gives benefits and rolls over to 2019. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, we've addressed a lot about the University of Georgia versus Alabama matchup. It was something that we inevitably knew was probably going to be coming down the line this season. And I think that it's tough coming towards the end of the season and us finishing up the way we were. I think everybody was hoping we were going to get back into the playoffs. It just wasn't meant to be. But I think there's a lot on the horizon that we can look forward to and be very proud of as we look at what Kirby has done for this program, what many of the players have left their mark on. I hope and I honestly think that those players going into this matchup against the University of Texas will bring that fire that they have been instilled with from the program, and I think we have a lot to look forward to.
It's a big game too because we're recruiting out of Texas pretty heavily right now, so it would be a statement thing to go in.
Who do we have in Texas that we're looking at?
Sign.
Oh, the safety.
We got Tommy Bush out of there last year.
Bush,
I'm trying to step a little bit back from recruiting because I've just gotten too involved in the life of 17-year-old children.
That's weird.
I've used it to get away from
Saturday. Common sense, like Texas, Georgia, Florida, and California are, the 4 best schools at producing high school talent. So, our bread and butter and the meat of our signing class is always going to be Georgia. We're getting a lot of kids out of South Florida right now. Sony Michel and Tyson Campbell went to the same high school. But I'd say Texas is, I think that's why Kirby scheduled the game with Texas down the road, is he wants to get us exposure in that state.
The eyes of Texas are
going to watch this. It'd be a nice statement to, some high school kids that may be choosing between Georgia and Texas if we go in there and just stomp them and say, come play for a championship contender.
Matt Stafford.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely.
Highland Park High School, I believe.
Well, we want to say thank you again to all of our listeners and those who have joined us for this podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. You can find us on anywhere podcasts are broadcast. You can find us on YouTube or Spotify. But from all of us here, we want to say thanks again for joining us, and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.